सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमां अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वंदे गुरु परंपरां. Namaste. We are going to have a different lecture which talks about a different approach to the concept of gunas. As we all know that gunas are something which is widely used in Ayurvedic classics and concepts. When we say guna, what is guna? So it is characteristics with which an object, person, substance or phenomena is identified. It also represents similarity between two or more. For example, if I say one particular person, how you identify him? So we know the name, but we identify him with his qualities, with his gunas. Similarly, when I say sweet, you identify a substance sweet with its quality. It gives something in your system. Thus, gunas are the tools which will allow you to identify any substance, any people, or any object. We all know that this universe is made up of Panchamahabhuta. This is the basic concept which Ayurveda talks. The Panchamahabhuta, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala and Prithvi. It is said that one is started from previous, like Akashat Vayu, Vayu or Agni, Agner Apaha, Abhyam Prithvi. And then we have learned about the 20 gunas which Ayurveda talks. They did not talk the 20 gunas as it is, but they talk in the bunch of 10. The opposite of 10 is 20. That means it is a dual. That means if you want to balance one guna, you have to give the opposite one. For example, if you want to balance Guru, you have to give Lagu. Or if you want to give balance Lagu, you have to give Guru. Likewise, the sets are taught. For Guru, Lagu. For Manda, Tikshna. For Shita, Ushna. For Snigdha, Ruksha. For Shlakshana, Khara. For Sandra, Drava. For Mridu, Katina. For Sthira, Sara. For Sukshma, Sthula. And for Vishada, Picchala. So this set of 20 gunas allows us to understand any substance or anything in a wide variety and in the concept of duality. So it also gives us tool to balance anything and everything. The most commonly used gunas are Ruksha, Snigdha, Shita, Ushna. We will try to understand the whole world or whole concept in these 4 gunas only, because we can actually narrate and bring all our ideas into these 4 combinations. Going to relation between Panchamahabhutas and doshas. So we also know that Vata is made up of Akasha and Vayu, Pitta from Agni and Jala, and Kapha from Jala and Prithvi. Widely, Akasha and Vayu as whole forms the Vata, Jala and Prithvi as whole forms Kapha, and Agni with little amount of Jala makes the Pitta. We also have to remember that Pachaka Pitta and Agni is the same. That is why it says Tyakta Dravatvam Pakadi Karmana Anal Shabditam. So in Pachaka Pitta there is no Drava, there is no Jala, and that is why it is called as Agni. So we can understand these 3 with the keys to 3 concepts which we usually say Shita, Snigdha and Agneya. So Shita is usually Vatam, Pitta is usually Agneya, and Kapha is usually Snigdha. The whole creation, the whole world can be understood with these 3 words, Shita, Snigdha and Agneya. When we say Shita, Snigdha, Agneya, that means Shita and Snigdha are something which makes the structure, and the structure is maintained with optimum amount of Agneya. If there is any variation in any of these, you will find the problem. That is why we say Rogastu dosha vaishamyam, dosha samyam arogata. So any kind of diseases happens because of the disbalance or disequilibrium of the doshas. And when you bring back the equilibrium, the disease is solved, or that is called as treatment. That is why we can understand this Vata Pitta Kapha in the terms of properties as Shita, Snigdha and Agneya. Just to remind ourselves that these 3 doshas we understand with understanding of properties. Now always we discuss that Vata is something one entity, Pitta is one entity, Kapha is one entity. How you will recognize, how you will identify this as Vata? So when we say Tatra Ruksho, Laghu Shitaha, Khara Sukshma Shalo Anilha, when we see all these properties at one particular place, we understand this is dominance of Vatam. Or when we say Pittam Sasnehas Tikshnoshnam Laghu Visram Sarandravam, then we understand there is a dominance of Pitta. When we say Snigdha Shito Gurur Mandash Lakshano Mritsana Sthiraha Kapha, we understand this is the dominance of Kapha. Here there is one twist. Kapha is Snigdha, Vata is Ruksha, whereas Pitta is Sasneha. Now Pitta is not Snigdha, it is Sasneha. That means the Snigdha is present in the vicinity of Pitta, but Pitta itself is not Snigdha. It is just like if you see a candle or if you see a lamp, you find the fire or Agni. Along with that, there is a fuel. It can be ghee, oil, wax, or anything else. As long as that fuel is there, the Agni survives. The moment the fuel goes off, the Agni disappears. That is why the pure Pitta stays with Sasneha. When proper Snigdha is around, pure Snigdha is around, then only Pitta can sustain its natural stature. Similarly, Pitta is also Drava. So if you increase more Drava in the Agni, then also Pitta will become more. For example, as I said, that Pachaka Pitta without the Jala is called as Agni. So if you add more Agni, if you add more Jala to the Agni, it will become Pitta. So if you drink lot of water in empty stomach, it can cause you acidity. Let us understand these three doshas in the purview of four gunas, that is Shita, Snigdha, Ruksha and Ushna. When we say Shita and Ruksha, these are the properties of Vata. Shita and Snigdha is property of Kapha. Snigdha and Ushna is property of Pitta. Obviously, it is we say Pitta is Sasneha, but just for understanding, we say it is having a Snigdha nature around. So again, Shita and Ruksha is Vata, Shita and Snigdha is Kapha, Snigdha and Ushna is Pitta. So Kapha is something which creates all the structure. It is all pervading. It is there in whole body. So the main structure which is created is by Kapha, that is Shita and Snigdha. Vata is movement, and Vata is responsible for any kind of movement, either of nourishment or of doshas, that is Shita and Ruksha. Pitta is Snigdha and Ushna. That means it provides the necessary temperature to the system. Now understand one thing, everything requires an optimum temperature. It cannot be more, it cannot be less. Okay. So in our body, we say 37.4 degrees centigrade is the optimum temperature. If it is inside our body, we are comfortable. But the same temperature, when it is outside our body, we are not comfortable. That means that optimum temperature is definitely needed. 1 degree above or less, we will have trouble. 1 degree is more, you can call it as fever. 1 is less, you can call it as hypothermia. So that optimum temperature is always required. Now, we can conclude that Shita and Snigdha is something which is making the structure with the presence of optimum heat. Opposite of that is Ruksha and Ushna, is disease. Ojas is Shita and Snigdha. Poison is Ruksha and Ushna. So poison or Visha directly acts against the Ojas. That is why it is dangerous. That is why it is told that Madhyam is not very good. If you are consuming it generally, it is not very good because it is right opposite to the Ojas. Similarly, anything which is Ruksha and Ushna is not good for the Ojas. So if you impart more Ruksha and Ushna to the system, it is the starting phase of the disease. When I say disease, it's not just one disease, any kind of disease. Universe and the body is related with the same concept. As Sushruta says, Visargada Niyor Vikshepai, Soma Surya Anilayatha, Dharayanti Jagat Deham, Kapha Pitta Anilasatha. So in the body, how Kapha, Pitta and Vata maintains the system, similarly the Surya, Soma and Anila maintains in the universe. Now you see the same concept, Shita, Snigdha and Agneya, which makes in the body, similarly makes in the universe. Yatha pinde tatha brahmande. Always we hear many times. It is also like simile, like Bharata. So bhava, raga, and tala. So bhava is appearance. It is kapha. Raga is its color, its movement, its texture, its working capacity is pitta, and tala is all kind of movements. It is vata. So vata, pitta, and kapha, how it maintains the body. Similarly, Soma, Surya, and Anila maintains the universe. In this all four, Shita, Snigdha, Ushna and Ruksha, the Snigdha is the universal factor which is maintained by optimum Agni. Only if we understand Snigdha alone, we can solve many problems, we can understand many concepts. Let us analyze with few examples from Ashtanga Hridayam. For example, Desha. We know that there are three types of deshas. Bhumi Deha, Prabhe Deha, Desha Mahuriha Dida. Jangalam, Vata Bhuvishtam, Anupam tu Kapolpanam, Sadharanam, Samamalam, Tridha Bhudesha Madishe. So there are three types of deshas. One is Jangala, which is Vata dominant. One is Anupa, which is Kapha dominant. And that's Sadharanam and Samamalam, that is all moderate. No Pitta. Why there is no Pitta? Because whenever Pitta is more, that means heat is more. If heat is more, Snigdha becomes less, Jala becomes less, so automatically it becomes Ruksha. So if you have more heat, the Desha becomes Jangala. So there's no idea of Pitta at all. Similarly, in your digestion, when you eat food, you actually eat Snigdha and then the system digests it. So the first phase in the Amashaya, it is dominance of Kapha or Madhura Rasa. In the second phase, in the Pachimana Ashaya, it is dominance of Pitta and Amla Rasa. And at the Pakvashaya, there is a dominance of Vata and Ruksha. That means when you eat food, the Snigdha is gradually getting absorbed in the system and ultimately the Ruksha is thrown out. That is why there is a dominance of different doshas in the intestine. Similarly,
in 16 hours.
Similarly, in the age, when a child is born, the first phase of life we considered as Kapha. The second phase is Pitta and last phase is Vata. So always in the first phase, the Snigdha dominance is there. Prithvi and Jala is more. As the age progresses, the Agni becomes more and slowly it dries the Snigdha. As the old age goes, the person becomes more and more dry. That means the rasa, the juice of the person is becoming less. That is why we treat the old age and we call it as rasayana. That means regulation of rasa, ayana of rasa. So regulation of rasa is rasayana. So the juice is becoming less, you are replacing the juice back, that's all. Consider yourself as an orange. When orange is dry, you keep in water for some time, it regains some of its luster back. This is what happens with the rasayana treatment. Similarly, in your koshtha, we say that there are three types of koshtha: for vata dominant, pitta dominant, kapha dominant. And the kapha is dominant, the koshtha is very smooth, very easy. When pitta is dominant, then the koshtha becomes very soft, very mridu. Even if you take a small amount of food, it just disappears, it just goes out. Similarly, if it is vata dominant, there is more dryness, so you have constipation. This phenomena also explains that why a lot of people are having lactose intolerance. Just for an example, pitta is having drava nature, sara and drava. Milk also has a sara and drava nature. When you take heavy milk, what happens is it does not digest in the system and it goes out of. Similarly, if you take anything else, for example, even the draksha, that is the dry raisins, it also does not stay in the system and goes out because of sara and sara property. Milk also has a sara and drava property. So anything which increases sara and drava will cause more disturbance in the system, and that happens because pitta is present. So you see that these properties we can actually analyze in our day-to-day things and how the things can be twisted. So in this whole idea, when we say the jala is a crucial factor for the snigdha, anything becomes snigdha only in the presence of jala. Any structure is formed with prithvi and jala and maintained by optimum agni. For example, if you want to make a bread, so you take some wheat flour, you put water. Now you make a dove. Now dove has a snigdha nature, and you can give it an any kind of shape. And once you give it a shape, you dry it with the help of oven or with the help of heat or anything else. And as the jala evaporates, the soft nature changes, and it becomes permanent. Similarly, things happens with cementing. If you want to make a wall, you want to cement a wall, you take the cement, you put the water, make a dough and apply. It's very soft. When the jala evaporates, that structure becomes permanent. So as long as the jala is present, the things will continue. When the jala evaporates, the structure becomes permanent. If jala is present, then only there is a softness and flexibility. In our body, there is more than 70% water. So with this water only, the object sustains. It becomes soft, it becomes flexible. This is what we say is snigdha. In the young age, the snigdha is more, so the body is flexible. In the old age, this snigdha is less, ruksha is more, so it is not flexible. That is why Ayurveda says, Abhyangam acharet nityam sa shram jara vataha. So it reduces jara. Jara means old age. So progression of old age is inhibited. How? By constant introduction of snigdha, constant introduction of jala. So it doesn't become ruksha. Similarly, if you have prepared already a bread. Now this bread is very soft because there is a presence of jala. When you toast it, it becomes dry. It becomes more and more ruksha. And when the toast is prepared, you see it is very dry. Now you cannot eat it. For this, if you have to make it again soft, you have to dip into the jala. When I say jala, you should not take a literal sense of water. Jala is liquid. Jala is as a principle. Jala is a mahabhuta we are talking. So you see, any substance with the jala, it becomes soft, and when you remove the jala, it becomes ruksha. You consider any beans in our cooking. We always say that all dicotyledons usually are very ruksha. It is vata promoting. When you boil them, it slowly becomes snigdha. You take simple, for example, red beans. You start boiling it in open pan. You boil, after few hours of boiling, the dry nature become less, and that the beans becomes very creamy, very soft. It only because of one concept called as toya agni sannikarsha. So when agni and water is added, it's subjected, any substance becomes laghu and it becomes snigdha. So thus the prithvi in presence of jala makes a substance snigdha. This concept stays true in every aspect. It continues till there is optimum agni. Okay, if agni increases, jala will reduce because agni will evaporate the jala. In turn, snigdha reduces, gives rise to ruksha. This is starting point of any disease. We call it as jwara. If agni increases, jala will reduce. So in turn, snigdha reduces, gives rise to ruksha. This idea is very important because when we say agni is optimum, that means jఠra agni is optimum. When agni increases, it does not mean that agni is becoming tikshna agni, but agni is more than the optimum and it is not its own place. And thus it starts damaging the structure and causes a disease or a starting point of any disease, which is jwara. Now this jwara cannot be always fever. Jwara can happen locally, jwara can happen systematically. Let us understand nourishment and the snigdha. Food should be dominant with the snigdha and madhura, that is prithvi and jala. Okay. When we read about ahara vidhi, it tells that the food has to be dominant with madhura and snigdha, that is prithvi and jala. As soon as we eat this kind of food, it is impossible to eat any food without jala. So whenever we eat, actually we provide lot of snigdha to the system, which is being processed. And snigdha is nothing but the fuel for the agni. So whenever you take the snigdha is only getting absorbed in the system. And that is why, as I explained before, that beginning of the digestion, kapha is dominant, middle of the digestion, pitta is dominant, and at the end of the digestion, vata is dominant, which is In the taste wise, it is madhura, amla and lavana. We say tridha vipako dravyasya swad amla katukatmakaha. Sorry, madhura, not lavana, katu. So the snigdha is gradually absorbed in the system, giving or leaving behind the ruksha. This understanding is very, very important, because all nature of food is not based on vitamins, minerals or anything else. It is based on rasa as well as guna. And when we talk about guna, the food has to be dominant with snigdha, because this snigdha is going to provide pure fuel for the agni, not only jatra agni but the dhatu agni. If this snigdha is corrupted, the agni will not be comfortable, and if agni is not comfortable, it will give rise to ama, it can give rise to many diseases. At the level of dhatu parinama, the snigdha is only actually getting refined. So from jataragni to rasa to rakta to mamsa to medas to asti to majja to shukra to ojas, every step the snigdha is getting modified and it is becoming more refined. Thus we say ojas is the nothing but the most refined snigdha, which is shita, snigdha and agneya at the same time. Okay, so that is the basic structure, basic nature of the creation. And one substance which is exactly similar to snigdha, exactly similar to ojas, is cow's ghee. So shita, snigdha and agneya, these three nature is found in ojas and in the cow's ghee, and that is why cow's ghee is the most important thing in order to impart properties or positivity to the ojas. If you analyze across the globe, there are three snigdha which is majorly found: rice, wheat and milk. And these three are present in every country in some or other form and consumed majorly. Unfortunately, nowadays we are having problem with wheat, problem with milk and problem with rice. It is a totally different subject, but these three are actually present across the globe, and these should form the major portion of our meal. Then only we are going to give proper snigdha to our system. Always mind that snigdha is not always ghee and oil alone, but all other things which is now this also, if suppose rice and wheat are there, it has to be cooked. It has to be cooked with water. If it is cooked properly, then only it is snigdha, otherwise it is not. How we can maintain? So optimum agni is must. Consider you have an ice cream in your refrigerator. There is a particular temperature in the refrigerator which maintains the structure of the ice cream. Now you took the ice cream out of the refrigerator. What happens? It starts melting because the temperature has exceeded than the optimum which is required for that ice cream. Similarly happens to our body. If the temperature is more than the optimum, it will start melting. It will start dissociating. The snigdha will start dissociating. Any guna is imparted in the system through ahara and vihara. So snigdha is also same. If you take the food dominant with the snigdha, the body will have proper snigdha, it will assimilate, the agni will have proper fuel and the whole system will work fine. If you don't take snigdha to the system, like a lot of people do in dieting and other activities, if there is no proper snigdha to the system, slowly the ruksha will increase, the agni will get disturbed and it will give rise to many kind of diseases. Similarly, vihara. Night you should sleep because it imparts snigdha. If you are not sleeping in the night, it increases ruksha. Ratrau jagaranam ruksham. It increases ruksha, vata increases, disturbs agni, disease starts. So you can change the amount of gunas in our body by the ahara and vihara. That is why Ayurveda says if you want to be healthy, hita ahara vihara sevi. He's not just sticking to the hitahara and vihara. He also tells other things like hitahar vihara sevi, samikshakari, vishveshu sakta, data, samaha, satyapara, kshamavan, aptopa sevi, bhavati roga. So all other aspect is also there. But hitahar means hita is good for you. It's not like which is advised by somebody that this is good for one person, so it is good for everybody. No, it's not like that. Hita for every individual is different. So hita ahara vihara sevi, which is good for you considering your surroundings and your nature. This variation of season are also balanced through ahara and vihara. So that is why Ayurveda gives the ritucharya. So every season you have particular kinds of food and activities which actually maintains the properties and actually maintains the gunas in the system. The disturbance in optimum Agni may lead to Jwara and destruction of the structure. So this optimum Agni, when it's changed, obviously when the Agni goes out of its place, it causes Jwara. And as Jwara increases or the system and heat increases, it will start destroying the structure. So when it continues for significant amount of time, all the snigdha is gone and what is left is ruksha. This is what happens in all kinds of diseases, in the long standing diseases. That is why we say that all the diseases becomes vatavyati at the later stage, because all the snigdha is gone and what is left is ruksha. And that is the reason that all the chronic diseases towards its end treats with the snigdha. So usually it is either rasayana or ghee. For example, in Jeerna Jvara, ghee is indicated. So the treatment of chronic disease is nothing but the gradual introduction of snigdha to the system. When we say now how the ghee will digest it, ghee is also having a property of deepana. So if 10 ml of ghee is not accepted to the system, give 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. I had experience of couple of patients where ghee was not accepting and ghee was the most ideal thing for the person, and we started giving 2 drops, just 2 drops of ghee in warm water, and slowly with that itself person recovered. So where snigdha is required, it has to be imparted gradually, and it's not necessary that you give ghee or oil. You can give anything. You can give milk, you can give rice gruel. That is why in Panchakarma, after the Panchakarma, the Samsarjana Krama is told, that is Manda, Peya, Vilepi, Yavagu and Odana. So Manda is nothing but the very, very basic snigdha which is introduced to the system, because when the whole Panchakarma is done, the Agni becomes very low because of absence of fuel. So when you give snigdha back, this Agni slowly starts coming up. That is why this Sansarja Karma is told, and that is why it is told that after the Panchakarma done, you should not do Abhyanga, because if you do Abhyanga, it will also not digest in the system. Varjo Abhyanga Kafagrastha Krit Sanshuddha Ajirnibhi. Nowadays we know that in Ayurveda a lot of people emphasize on Abhyanga and the treatments, but there are certain conditions, because when Snigdha Guna becomes too much in the system, then also it is a problem. Or if Ruksha Guna becomes too much also, it is a problem. So more Snigdha will cause Ama and reduces Agni. More Ruksha will be lack of fuel for the Agni, and Agni will be low. In both the condition, Agni will be less. Just to understand, if you consider one single channel, the structure is made up of Prithvi and Jala, and with the optimum Agni, this Prithvi and Jala maintains, and there will be a free movement of Vayu. Due to any reason, when Agni is increased, Agni becomes abnormal like Jwara, it causes a heat in and around the Srotas and starts melting the structure. That is, Prithvi and Jala starts melting just like an ice cream. Now because of this melting structure, there will be an obstruction of Vayu, and that will be the starting point of any disease. So always remember that this happens actually in Vasant Ritu. You see, in Vasant Ritu, a lot of people will have flu. So sneezing, cough, cold is the most common thing, and it is very well explained also that the kapha which is which is sanchaya in Hemant Ritu, when the Vasant Ritu sun comes, it starts melting the kapha, and this melting kapha actually goes and blocks the channels and causes various diseases of kapha. So kapha prakopa happens due to vilayana of kapha. It's very interesting. The same idea is here. So when heat is increasing, it's not because of Vasant Ritu, but normally also heat increases, it actually gives vilayana of kapha, vilayana of not abnormal kapha, vilayana of natural structure, which is Prithvi and Jala, which is Snigdha, and that blocks the channels and causes obstruction in the movement of Vayu. This obstruction is the starting point of any disease. It can happen at the level of major srotas or even very small srotas. Depending upon the srotas, the disease manifests. With Jwara, the process of Snigdha to Ruksha starts. If you see the books, the arrangement of chapters are also like that, where the diseases starts with Jwara and ends with Vata Vyadhi and Vata Rakta. That we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.